You let loose. The piano was talking, the drums was walking. Oh, everybody was gone. You know, people shouting all over the place. And if you didn't understand what it was, you thought you was in a rock and roll concert. That's the way black gospel was when I was a boy.
Oh, you better run, better run, better run. Ah, you better run, better run, better run. Oh, you better run to the city of refuge. You better run. God called Moses on the mountain and come and he placed the Torah in Moses' ark, and then he stamped the commandments in Moses' mind and said to Moses, don't you leave them out, children behind.
We call the church the sanctified church. I'm so glad Jesus lived in me, singing glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. Jesus lifted me, Satan had me bound. Jesus lifted me, Satan had me bound. Jesus lifted me. You know, baby. Satan had me bound. Jesus lifted me, singing glory, hallelujah. Jesus lifted me. And then they had that, you know, that holler, you know, woo! And I love that. Woo! They were just screaming. I said, oh, my Lord. It just, it made my big toe shoot up in my boot.
So music out of the church has always been my influence. And even now, I still say that there's such a fine line between gospel and R&B. There are many songs that came out of the church and ended up in the nightclub. Black Mama, she's your daughter, me.
Mama, he did your daughter me. Mama, he did your daughter me. Mama, he did your daughter me. Meanest man I've ever seen.
When you hear Ruth Brown sing, you know there's some gospel there. So it involves, you know, automatically. And you can hear it, you can feel it. That's what made the character Rhythm and Blues so popular. Because people who had that spiritual feeling and background knew that there was something there that drew you to that music, that just made you want to dance, that made you want to move.
Mama, it did your daughter me. Mama, it did your daughter me. The meanest man I've ever.
You know, R&B was a huge part of it. But then you start mixing in the country, you know, the best of the country, the sort of really swinging country. And gospel, can't forget gospel. And to some extent, jazz, I think.
Lionel Hampton and Louis Jordan were probably the first rock and roll bands that were really conscious of what we call the big beat. And it's ironic because these were both bands that had their roots steeped in jazz. And Louis Jordan was a monster, you know, and all during World War II. You know, when he did Caledonia and Beware and Salt West Virginia, and Shoot Shoot Your Boogie. He did Shuffle Boogie and everything else that was happening with backbeats and everything else that were all the elements of rock and roll.
I think he was really one of the first crossover artists. Louis Jordan had a great white following.
Walking with my baby, she got great big feet. She long, lean, and lanky, and they had nothing to eat, but she's my baby, and I love her just the same. Crazy about that woman, 'cause Caledonia is her name. Caledonia, Caledonia, what makes your big head so hard? I love you just the same. I'll always love you, baby, 'cause Caledonia is your name.
Louis Jordan was not only the first rock and roller, he was the first rapper. You got to dig some of those old Louis Jordan records.
You know, My mama told me, she said, son, keep away from Caledonia. She ain't no good, son. She's bad for your morale. She'll have you doing things that ain't right, son. But see, mama didn't know I was in love with Caledonia. So I'm going down to Caledonia's house and ask her just one more time. Caledonia! Caledonia! What makes your big head so hard?
In the mid-40s and early 50s, there were four major record companies. It was RCA Victor, Columbia Records, Capitol Records, and Decca Records. They were all very tightly controlling what you heard, and that was the blandness. There was a thirst for different kinds of niche music, basically what they call race music, rhythm and blues.
It was controlled by a handful, and all of a sudden, they built this interconnected network of independent distributors, and you and I could make records in our garage, ship them out of our trunk, and become multimillionaires overnight. And that was the fun period. It was full of imaginative entrepreneurs who became very wealthy.
Now you had the big corporate types at RCA and Columbia and so forth who were playing the game according to Hoyle. Well, these guys were not going to play the game according to Hoyle because it was their money on the line. Their survival depended on getting their records played and sold. So they started paying off disc jockeys. They started off cutting deals with record stores. You buy one, you get one free. They just kicked the hell out of the major labels. People like the Chess brothers started Chess Records. Lou Chudd started Imperial Records, and Nathan started King Records. And Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler started Atlantic Records.
Nowadays, the people have schools they can go to and study all this music, but in those days we had records. And you know, all over the world, people used to collect those records. I mean, the people that we work with on Atlantic Records, for example, were from Turkey. And they came here with a knowledge already of what was happening here because they were able to get these records. And in those days, those records were like gold.
Atlantic was a label run by jazz buffs and record collectors. Two of the company's executives, Ahmet and Nesuhi Ertegun, were sons of the Turkish ambassador to the United States. They called their label Atlantic for the ocean they had crossed to reach America. In the 50s, they made records with some of the country's most gifted black artists.
I felt that I knew what black life was in America, and I knew what black music was in America, and I knew what black roots and what black gospel music and black blues from the Delta that went on to Chicago and the Texas blues that went on to the West Coast. I knew what they were, and I knew all about that. And I loved all of that. So in loving America, I thought I loved something more than the average American knew about.
We placed such an emphasis at Atlantic Records on bel canto, on great ability, on a Joe Turner who could have been an opera singer with that beautiful, great, big, rolling, tumbling voice of his.
I did shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. Shake, rattle, and roll. You won't do right, I don't know. Shake, rattle, and roll.
Big Joe Turner was a man who cut across many lines. He was a great blues man, rhythm and blues man, rock and roll man, and a reputation in the jazz field.
With a Joe Turner song like Shake, Rattle, and Roll, and a Louis Jordan song that's rockin', before you know it, you're putting rockin' and rollin' together, and you're getting rockin' and rollin'. And rockin' and rollin' was a not so subtle way of talking about having a good time, dancing, and sometimes it meant sex.
Like one-eyed cat, peeping in the people's door.